Hey everyone, it's Laura with What's It Feel Like, and we're back this week with part 2 of our interview with Eric. Now, if you missed last week's interview with Eric, you can click here where he details his addiction with heroin that started with taking his mom's pain pills while she was battling breast cancer. But this week I want to focus on his recovery. Eric talked very candidly about the first time he went to rehab, how long he stayed sober, and then relapsing. And what I thought was really interesting in talking with Eric, and I talked with other people about this too, is that relapse is really common in recovery. And I know it comes with a lot of shame and a lot of disappointment, but Eric talked about how he dealt with that shame and that disappointment and how he learned to take it one day at a time and what it feels like now to be in long-term recovery. Here's part 2 of Eric's story.
I was nervous, I was scared. I was 26 years old, but by all accounts, I felt as if I was an adolescent in my heart. It was the first time that I'm leaving home. And when I finally got on the plane, I took a deep breath and I knew that I needed to do this. There was many times fleeting thoughts of I could run, I could get out of here, I don't have to do this. But I wanted to do it. I was so very scared, but I wanted to do it. My one fear was that I was scared more so than anything of me being an uncle to my nieces and nephews, or a brother or a son that they referred to as, yeah, I have a brother that lives in Florida and I haven't seen him in many years. Or my uncle lives in Florida, but my nieces and nephews know nothing about me. That was my number one fear, that they wouldn't know their Uncle Eric, or they would lose contact and be as close as we are today with their brother Eric, or his son Eric. Or if my mother was still around, it would have been even more hard to leave because she loves me so much, but my number one fear was becoming distant with the family. Went into an inpatient program for 56 days. And once I completed that, I went to outpatient and I lived in a halfway house. And I made it to 8 months and 30 days. And I guess I wanted to celebrate my 9-month, so I relapsed.
Did you relapse on opiates?
I relapsed on heroin. So I used once, and then the following day I went back into treatment again. I didn't utilize the tools I had. So picking up that phone, calling for help, that phone weighs 1,000,000 pounds. And while I didn't realize how severe or cunning and baffling and powerful the disease of addiction is, it was an idea that entered my head, and it was a fleeting thought, and I acted on impulse. I reacted, and the opportunity was there. And once I got high and relapsed, I knew that it wasn't what I wanted. Therefore, the next day I entered rehab again, and I was more so upset because my ego wouldn't allow me to get over the date on the calendar. My ego wouldn't let me get over the fact that I have to start over. And then my heart was broken because I had to call my family and tell them that I relapsed when they were so happy for me. They were so proud of me. So that I was more dreadful of that phone call than anything. They were upset, but I called them when I was in treatment, so they weren't so much listening to what I was saying, they were watching what I was doing. And I had to prepare myself to start over again. And I always told myself when I was in treatment the next time that I'm going to do less talking and more listening, and that's what I did.
How long have you been sober since your last relapse?
October 27th, 2016. So it's a little over 3 years. It's one of those things where it doesn't seem like very long, and then it seems like it's been forever. So working in treatment, it's kind of interesting. I admire when someone tells me the amount of years. It's almost, that in itself is baffling. And then I remember to simplify the equation, and it's one day at a time. I always say on the phone that the only regret about entering into, not just here at Sauna Lake, any rehabilitation center, is The only question you'll have internally in your heart is why I didn't make the call sooner. And it's that simple. I always remind them that I never forget the day that I walked through the front doors of a facility. I was scared. It's like the first day of school feeling, and filled with anxiety and stress and fear. So I try to utilize that to understand how they feel and just be honest. It's hard for an individual to get the help if they truly don't feel they've been there. But a simple discussion, how they feel, what's taking place. Has the substance affected your relationships? Has it affected your place of employment? Has it affected your finances? Do you enjoy doing hobbies that you once upon a time did? Do you have the relationships you once upon a time had? And if you can answer all those yes, then it should give you, and you made it on a piece of paper and you visually looked at that, it should point you in the direction that maybe this isn't just an occasional social gathering where you're indulging in some substances here and there on the weekends. If it's affecting any or all avenues of your life, then it's time to get help. And with that being said, I would have never imagined I would be here. Never. I think it's common. I feel my story is just another story. There's individuals, when I hear their story at admission or just members in recovery at meetings and different fellowships, that I can only imagine how hard it must have been for them. But I do know that if you take one day at a time, that long-term sobriety and being clean and sober, it's obtainable. And it's truly one day at a time. But I never would have imagined coming this far.
So I think it's worth repeating, as Eric said a couple times, that it really is one day at a time. Eric is now the admissions director at Sauna Lake Recovery Center, which is in Dittmer, Missouri. That's about 45 minutes outside of St. Louis. And he works with patients in recovery every single day and reminds them that every single day. So if there's anything that you get out of this video, if you love someone that's battling addiction, if you are facing addiction or you're in recovery, is the one day at a time mantra is something that I really think is helping a lot of these people in recovery, and something I hope you can take away from this video today. So if you like the content that we're creating on this channel, you like this video, please like us below and subscribe to the channel. We're going to keep sharing stories every week about people that are in addiction and in recovery, and we hope it will help any of you out there that are struggling with this issue that it's hitting so many of us here in the U.S. and around the world. So thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you soon.